Today, I want to briefly talk about something that has been on my mind, one of the many things on my mind, with respect to some of the discussion, suggestions, accusations, and even stigmatization that I have heard bandied about in the YouTube verse. And I want to set the record straight, just in general. I'm not speaking out against anybody in particular. This is more of a problem in the collective than it is on any individual level. So that is essentially who and what I am addressing. As always, my videos come with a content warning of this nature because I will be discussing mental illness, disordered eating, mood disorders, personality disorders, and so on. I am going to be very serious and very blunt in this video. If you take exceptional offense to it, you're welcome to come back another time. Take care of your mental health, take care of yourself, address your concerns with a professional, as I am not a professional. I am not in the field, nor do I have the credentials to treat anybody for specific known mental health disorders. I can, however, give my perspective on things from what I see, but I'm not armchair diagnosing anybody at this point. That said, based on my own perspectives and opinions, thoughts, and my experiences, here's what I have to say. First of all, I, as an individual who speaks about her mental health, her being me, and willing to share that part of my life, not because I have to, not because I need to, not because I want attention. I don't want any kind of attention that reinforces how I already feel about myself in terms of feeling low about myself from time to time. I don't want that. I don't want sympathy. I don't want care. I don't want ridicule for addressing my own mental health admissions. Feel free to criticize perhaps other things I talk about and I comment about in general, or about particular content creators and stuff. That's one thing. But as far as me addressing my own diagnosed and um, treated and being treated mental illnesses, my borderline personality disorder, emotional dysregulation, I am going to do that, and it is legitimate. I have no reason to make up any trendy disorder of the day to describe myself, and it's not something I generally do toward another person. If a person is especially problematic, they address that they have some kind of mental illness, I'm going to believe it. I may not tolerate mental illnesses or personality disorders, emotional dysregulation, or anything like that to be used as a way to shield oneself from taking accountability for one's actions. But I tend to believe when someone says that they have mental illness, because I will tell you, having mental illness is so deeply stigmatized, especially having personality disorders, that sometimes people, even in the medical professional, don't want to treat them. They don't get the level of treatment they should. And which is unfortunate, and it adds to their declining health and their shortened lifespan and so on. So I think to keep up that stigmatization, you know, to keep it up, whether we keep it up for ourselves or to work against somebody because they have that, instead of encouraging them to get help for it, is disgusting. And I've seen it time and time again on this platform. Mental illness is the least funded in terms of um, services, disability checks, resources, and oftentimes providing documentation to get basic needs can be so revealing that more people often than not know your business than what you're prepared to tell of yourself. So what happens is that part of your ability to keep your health care private becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, because if you're unable to work, you need to get resources as whatever you can. It's very hard to prove certain types of mental illness because it's not something as concrete as perhaps a physical disability and so on. There is things that I'm not saying that are the only scenarios in this. Disability in general is still um, overlooked depending on your race, who you are, where you live, how much you make, and so on. It's still referred to as, especially people with mood disorders or emotional dysregulation, are often called lazy, and that's just not what it is for the most part. And that does nothing but make us feel worse about ourselves. To say that we would use our disorders because it's a trendy thing to say, it is the most vile, contemptible piece or parts of stigmatization, and as far as I'm concerned, discrimination that there is. So please stop it. Okay, just stop it. Now, to address my own behavior, I have stigmatized myself. I have put myself in a position where I have denied certain symptoms because I fear losing control. And losing control, it can just mean a feeling. It doesn't, I'm not homicidal or anything like that, which is another piece of discriminate, or it's another piece of a stereotypical um, type of slur that affects people, especially people like me with emotional dysregulation. We generally don't want to destroy you. Um, and we're not using our emotional dysregulation necessarily to get out of responsibility. Now, we may not be limited in what we can do, and we have to work within that. Sometimes we refuse to do it because we feel we want to go beyond because of the nature of our disorder and the fact that we already feel like failures. We don't want to experience that again. But like I said, we're individual. We're not the same type of borderline person. There is no prototype borderline person. There are recognizable symptoms. I can see that as someone who has it. I tend to be more intuitive just because I'm tapped into reading people, and that's just because of my sensitivities and things and so on. I don't think I have any spiritual inclination or anything like that. And I don't need to be a whole person. I just need to do the best that I can to take care of myself and take care of the people I'm responsible for. So no, personally, not that I'm being accused individually, but I'm just saying as part of the collective, as one person within the collective, No, I'm not using terms to um, think that it's trendy or anything. I'm not glamorizing my mental health stuff. I deal with symptoms every single day, and I have my good days and my bad days. This week was one of those complicated weeks. It happens. It starts off great. Art class is great, and then things turn around. It's part of life. It's part of life. Things happen, and having a lot of emotional things pile at once. Life things that it can be, especially for me, overwhelming, and I am learning to process that and deal with it on my own. I haven't made an emergency call to my therapist in quite some time. In quite some time. Because I have enough confidence to be able to work through it. And sometimes I'm not always successful, but I want to learn a little bit more of self reliance when it comes to emotional regulation because I have had DBT. I know exactly what I should be doing and what I need to be doing. I have the love of others. I love others. I'm doing healthier things with my life, but still, I have these issues. We just don't turn it off and on. It's always with us. It's always with us. Now, as far as what I say, yeah, I can see where using certain terms, again, could put somebody in um, trouble. It's possible when I've talked about foodie beauty and what I perceive as emotional dysregulation, I see that. It doesn't mean that I'm excusing her behavior, doesn't mean that I accept what she has done to her cats, what she has done with her audience, and certainly what she has done to other members of the YouTube verse community. YouTube community or YouTube verse, it has to be one or the other, right? So, listen, um, I don't say, and I'm not saying that. I'm just going by what pretty much what she has said of herself. I think she does have issues. There's no doubt she has issues. What issues? I don't know. I assume that it's emotional dysregulation. I recognize the behavior. I share some of the behaviors to one extent or another. I do have disordered eating, and from day to day, I view food in all kinds of ways. Um, I see a certain pattern with her, let's say, that I recognize. And, I'm not the expert in relationships, but I know from my positive relationships with men that, and what I would accept at this point in my life personally, that I would not accept people in my life who want me to destroy myself so that they can benefit from that. I mean, it happens to one degree, on one from one degree to another anyway, in different types of settings. Whether you work for somebody, whether whatever we all have our limits, we all have our boundaries. We have to figure out what is important in our lives. That's something that we have to do. Um, you know, that's it. So yeah, in that case, I could be accountable for again talking about someone's perceived mental health problems, and that could again be stigmatizing for that person, further stigmatization. And just because they do it to themselves doesn't mean that I, as a commentator, should add to that. So I guess that I would definitely agree with if that's what these suggestions are made. It's been addressed with me before when I talked about um, Katie Joy from Without a Crystal Ball and stuff. And, um, with Foodie Beauty, it's a little more clear to me. I have shared some of those symptoms. So I'm not saying that my Terry about that is right. I'm not saying that it's justified. I'm saying that that's probably something where such accusations of just throwing it around like that could come from. But I can assure you it's not my intention to do that. It's to address something that I see much in the same way that the people who have an issue with this make comments about the copious amounts of food she eats, how she eats it. And I think that is a little less relevant than dealing with the fact that there are underlying problems and that this is a result of that. It's a manifestation of that, and certainly an indication of some type of untreated problem somewhere, but I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't live in Foodie's mind. I don't know what's going on in there. I can only base it on what I see two dimensionally in her videos, and that's as far as I go with that. All right, well, this is the end of my video. I do appreciate your time that you have taken to listen to me. I hope that you're doing well. You will continue to take care of yourself or yourselves, and I will definitely see you again soon. Bye for now.